This is one of the main bridges where people are able to cross from Venezuela into Colombia. It's technically closed, but Colombian officials have allowed some Venezuelans to cross into the country temporarily to get food, medicine, things that they do not have back in Venezuela. More migrants from Venezuela who want to come into Colombia but don't have the appropriate forms to do it this way, they cross over here in an area that's known as Los Trochas. It means the trenches in English. They come through this area. They have to pay a group of Maduro-supporting militia, a gang-like militia that's called Los Colectivos. They control the trenches on the Venezuelan side. Then they're able to make the trek, what you see many doing right now, over to Colombia, and then they try and stay here. Yesterday afternoon, that militia group, Los Colectivos, they started shooting right up onto this bridge where we're standing. People were screaming, trying to run for cover. Some people had to just lay down on this bridge and cover their heads because the gunfire was continuous. There wasn't a break for the first 15 minutes, and they were not able to move to safety. The shooting went on for at least half an hour. Hundreds of rounds were fired. Los Colectivos shooting up towards this bridge. The Colombian forces then firing back. Colombian police shut down the entire bridge. They sent in more police, SWAT teams, the army. On the Colombian side, officials say that at least one innocent woman was injured in the gunfire. She was taken to a hospital nearby. We're hearing that some U.S. humanitarian help could actually be on the way in the coming days. A spokesperson for the U.S. Southern Command is telling Fox News that the military is considering sending a hospital Navy ship that's called the Comfort to South America off the coast of Colombia to aid Venezuelan refugees. They did that last year, but Fox News is told that so far no final decision has been made. As for what is happening over in Venezuela, the opposition leader and the U.S. recognized President Juan Guaido has called for more protests today. He is urging Venezuelan soldiers to go outside of military bases all across the country and protest. That's supposed to start at 10 a.m. local time. Back to you guys.
Ellison, where you are on the Colombian side of that bridge, we've heard these reports about Venezuelan women in particular being so desperate for food, for money for their families, coming over, prostituting themselves, also just cutting off their hair, selling their hair to Colombians. What have you seen? I realize it's a difficult situation. You're trying to stay safe. You're also trying to gather material. But what are you seeing from average Venezuelans who cross over?
So that was one of the first things we heard about, was those women that not only some have to prostitute themselves, but them also selling their hair. We've been at this bridge as well as another one that's a little further away. We have spoken to a number of Venezuelan refugees. I met one woman who says she crosses over every day because she wants her child to go to school here. The Colombians let some Venezuelan children come over here to take classes because they know that they don't have an education back in Venezuela. I met one man who was a mathematician, an engineer by trade. He told me he had lost his job a few years ago because he did not support the Maduro regime, so he had been kicked out of his job. He had been a successful engineer. He had to walk across the border every single day to try and get food to go back to Venezuela and sell sandwiches, pieces of cake. Wow. He said that he tried to tutor people with math and geometry here in Colombia, but made almost no money. He said the money he made, the only place he lived making that was in Venezuela. He said an entire month of his wages of working would only buy him 1 kilo of cheese, which is 2.2 pounds. I met one woman who comes here every month, an hour and a half each way, to buy insulin in Colombia for her mother, who is diabetic, and she needs it to survive. They say they have no opportunity, no way to buy or get any of that in Venezuela. They also say the Venezuelan National Guard, who is just back there past the yellow barricade, they won't talk to you. We filmed them. They filmed us. They say when they try to cross here, they make it difficult for them to get across the border into Colombia.